Hello and welcome back, Realty Pros. Thank you for joining us for another week's Realty Talk. We are excited to be here this weekend this week rather, as we always are. And we have with us today again sharing our broker, Miss Jasmine Porter. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn it over to her. And let you take it away. Thank you so much, Ms. Porter.
And thank you so much, Anita. I appreciate it. And good afternoon, Realty Pros. We are excited, as always, for another week of Porterhouse Realty Talks. We have had a dynamic last 2 weeks of Realty Talks where we've had Kermon McPayton sharing with us. He's been doing door knocking and everything but role playing, but that's what we're going to be doing. Not today, but we will get into that. So today we're going to be talking about the psychology behind for sale by owners. All right. This topic or this seller type it's not a new category to you guys. Everybody who's in real estate, you know about for sale by owners. But today we're going to dig a little bit more deeply. Because as you know, we've been talking about for several weeks now, this is the direction that we're going into company-wide for sale by owners for the rest of at least this summer, if not for the rest of this year. This is all hands on deck. Every Realty Pro, direct your attention in this area because there are so many for sale by owners on the market. It is unbelievable. And it seems as if with the switch that we've seen in the last maybe year or so with the current real estate market in our DC metropolitan area, it's almost as if the for sale by owners have been heightened. So it is essential that each and every last one of us embraces this seller category, understands the psychology behind it, and is able to move forward with confidence, knowing that you absolutely are a resource and you have what they need. Okay. So just right offhand, we have some very encouraging numbers. Depending on the resource that you look at, you'll get different numbers, but based on NAR, between 90 and 97% of for sale by owners will list with an agent eventually. Eventually, the key is simply to reach them, okay? So as we go through our training today, it's interactive as always. I want to hear from you guys. We're going to go through some of the questions as we talk about the psychology. I want you guys to think in terms of all of the things that we bring to the table as a real estate professional, right? Even when you're on the listing side of a non-for sale by owner category, what is the process that you go through as a listing agent? What things do you have to do on your client's behalf? What considerations does your client or is your client not aware that you have to make in order to make sure that that transaction is as smooth as possible for them? So these are things that we want to consider so that we can marry the two and show the for sale by owner why working with Anita Bowie of Porterhouse International Realty Group is the right move for them, okay? Does anybody have any questions right offhand? I know we have some agents that are brand new and then some that are seasoned. So if anybody is not familiar with for sale by owners, by all means, unmute yourself, ask a question or put it in the chat. Aside from that, we will move forward. So as you guys see, this photo to the right on your screen is very intentional. You see a picture of a lady with a for sale by owner sign, and she's kind of grabbing her hair like she's going to pull her hair out. That is a very, can you guys see it?
We cannot.
I can see it.
It's there. Okay.
I see it.
Okay. No problem. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But that is a very intentional depiction for a number of reasons. Number one, it pushes us to overcome the fear of for sale by owners because oftentimes real estate professionals are timid or shy when it comes to for sale by owners, and you think that they're going to be aggressive. So that picture is intentional. But the truth behind that picture can be found in her grabbing her hair, because that process for a for sale by owner is very much a doozy. because they are not a trained real estate professional like you are. So them having to figure it out as they go along is literally a full-time job for them. And it's even more, engrossing because they have to figure out everything that you go through real estate school to master just in their first time selling their home, right? So from that perspective, you just want to kind of engage them from a resourceful aspect so that you make friends with them opposed to offending them, right? With your for sale by owners, I want you guys to unmute yourself. Tell me what you think the reasons are that they've chosen to sell their home on their own. Let's see. Come on, tell me why you think a for sale by owner would want to list their own property opposed to having a real estate professional to do so. Give me one reason, and then we'll
Well,
take turns.
I think a lot of it, Ms. Porter, has to do with they mistakenly believe that it's going to be a reduction in the cost and what they will be charged, what they'll have to end up paying. And a lot of people, because they have been brainwashed by a lot of the shows on TV, HGTV, they think it's easy. They think it's simple. You just go out here, you put a sign up, and people run to your place, and you just sell the house. And they're finding out, I think, like this lady in the picture, that it's not what they thought it was going to be. So I think it has a lot to do with money. I think it has a lot to do with they have misinformation on how easy the process would be. And they don't understand when you're dealing with the government, when you're dealing with paperwork, when you're dealing with all this stuff, it can become very, very difficult.
Excellent, Kermon. Who's next? Why do you think that a homeowner would take on the task of selling their home on their own?
Because it's easy, Jasmine. Everybody knows how to sell a house. What's the big deal?
What's the big deal, right?
That's right. What is the big deal?
Because I think they can get more money if they do it themselves.
They can get more money.
Yeah,
They
full
think it's
commission.
easy. Darlene, would you say?
Because they want to save in commission. They don't want to pay 6%.
They want to save on commission and not pay a full 6%. What else? Well, ding, ding, ding to all of those answers, because those are the two most prominent answers among for sale by owners. Number one, they think the process is so easy that they can do it themselves and they don't need an agent. And then number two, they do not want to pay a commission. They don't want to pay a full commission, I should say. And specific to what Darlene said, they don't want to pay a full 6% commission. And that is the key. So I want you guys to take that and put it in your back pocket, because that's going to be a part of our conversation a little bit later. Because for sale by owners, they offer something. They offer something to whoever brings the buyer. Can you guys tell me what that is that they offer? If you're for sale by owner and you're selling your property, there's something that you're offering to anyone who brings a buyer to your property. What is it that they're offering? Dee, I see you talking, but you're on mute. If you can unmute yourself safely, do so. Otherwise, this is a giveaway, guys. It's not a trick question.
Commission.
Okay. So it's not that they have a problem paying, they just don't want to pay a listing agent because they feel like they can do it themselves and save commission, okay? Now, with that being said, what we found is most for sale by owners do not have a problem with the word finder's fee or the term finder's fee. And they're oftentimes willing to offer 2.5 to 3% of a finder's fee or commission. Right? So if you already know going in that they're willing to offer about 3% in commission, and that doesn't benefit them because they have no representation, then you know going in that they're willing to pay at least the 3%, right? So that's the premise for your conversation, right? So let me ask you this question. When a seller sells their home on their own, what are some of the potential pitfalls that they may not be aware of? And there are very many. So just throw some of them out there.
Disclosures.
Proper disclosures. Those can land you in court.
How to correctly price their home.
Absolutely. We know that overpricing the property can cause it to stay on the market, become stale, and then it'll end up selling or could end up selling for much less because they priced it too high. What else?
Also marketing their property, not doing it correctly.
Absolutely. Not marketing their property, not having all the platforms that you would as a real estate professional. What else?
How to prepare their home?
Definitely. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't have an Angela Skipper, or they wouldn't have a Curtis Price. They wouldn't have any of the Porterhouse Realty pros on this line, and I can go down the list and name all of your names. They wouldn't have a real estate professional to guide them in that process. What else? Other potential pitfalls that they may not be aware of.
Well, I was going to say, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say that the legalities of certain things, when it comes to those forms and things like that that need to be filled out, even to the point of knowing, say for instance, you have a first-time home buyer, so splitting the transfer recordation fees and some of the other things that may be involved when a person has a home inspection and certain requirements that are involved with that. And then even knowing their rights as the home seller, what they can and cannot do. So it's just the legalities that are involved is not as simple as, okay, buy my house and I sign it over and you pay me.
Excellent, excellent. Very well stated. The legalities there. And even with the home inspection, that lends itself to further negotiations. Absolutely, for each of those. There's more though. What else, guys? What other pitfalls or what other considerations would a for sale by owner not even know to make?
I think also understanding agency as well, and what an agent's responsibility is to each individual party.
Absolutely. So while we wait for the next person, because there's more, and there's a really big one that I want to hear somebody say. If I have to give it away, that's okay. But I know that you guys know this one. You're just not thinking of it at the time. But right now, I just want to share a quote that attorneys say, right? And these are attorneys that, you know, they can represent themselves, they can represent other clients, but even attorneys say, an attorney who represents himself has a fool for a client, right? They can represent anybody, but an attorney who represents himself has a fool for a client. Now, with that being said, there are so many considerations that we will touch today. We won't be able to go through all of them, but even the emotional aspect. This is a house that has been your home. You may have raised your family. You may have, you know, been there for however many years, however many seasons and transitions. There is very much an emotional attachment to it. And you and I both know when you're doing things that have an emotional attachment, you don't have your best judgment. So with that being said, in and of itself, that's a whole rabbit trail full of potential pitfalls because it is their own home. But I'm going to keep asking this question until somebody helps us to see what is another big pitfall that a for sale by owner may have. They may not even realize.
And I'm going to give us title issues, Jasmine.
That's a great one, Paula. There can definitely be title issues. There can definitely be title issues for the buyer who purchases. Let me ask you this question. Go ahead, Gina.
One of the things I thought about, and I've run into this actually before, and that is, you know, in most cases, when you have a representative or an agent representing you, you know that when people come to tour your home, you shouldn't be in the home. And a lot of times they're there because they want to be helpful, answer questions. But if they hear a negative comment like, oh, that was stupid, why would they paint that red instead of whatever? Or why did they do? And that homeowner gets offended. It could lead to other things. I have actually seen that happen.
Definitely. And that goes along the lines with their emotional connection to their property because it's theirs. Absolutely. What about, so one of you mentioned the pricing, right? So what about the fact that the for sale by owner wants to save on commission, but properties who sell with for sale by owners sell for about 10% less, between 10 and 20%, depending on the source that you look at, than properties that are listed with real estate professionals. So even if you were conservative and said 10%, if they want to simply save a listing commission, they're giving away 10% of their property's equity. So that's a really big deal, guys, because equipped with that information, you have quite a number of tools in your tool belt so that when you're having these conversations with the seller, you can very easily overcome their obstacles because essentially they want to save money and they think the process is so easy that they can do it themselves. And about 90% of them are going to find themselves pulling their hair out and calling one of you to assist them. Okay, so just understand that when you're talking to a for sale by owner, you're dealing with a different personality type. You're dealing with a person who says, as we've already articulated, and so many of you have alluded to, I know what I'm doing. This is an easy process. I can do it on my own. I don't need any help. So when you're dealing with that personality type, it's very important for us to know that you're going to have to go and be a resource. You're going to have to go and establish a rapport with that person. You're going to have to go and offer assistance to that person. You're going to have to go and tour the home and have conversations so that you can get them to let their guard down, right? The absolute wrong approach would be to go and say, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you absolutely can't do this on your own. What are you thinking? And of course, that wouldn't be the porterhouse approach, but you really want to go in there and make friends with them. Mr. Porter, I see that you unmuted yourself. Did you have something to add there?
I just want to tell a quick story, if you don't mind. It was, remember one time we were showing some clients of very beautiful homes. I think they were around the 600 price range back in the day. So they had some money back in the day. Yeah. There was this one particular home that we went and toured, and the gentleman and his wife were there. They were very nice people. House was beautiful. Had a lot of custom layouts to it. I mean, I think some of the wood they had, for the hardwood floor had even been purchased from Africa. And they were just adamant to be there. For sale by owners, I believe. They were adamant to be there while we were doing the showing. And everything in the house was, yeah, this is this wood comes from the Zimbabwe tree in Africa. And the only reason a person wouldn't buy my house is because the basement is a little small. And this wall, these pillars were, cut from stone in the Greek island. And the only reason a person wouldn't buy this home because he kept saying the same thing. And so when the clients got outside, he said, well, I guess the only reason I'm not going to buy the home is because the basement is too small. So essentially, the owner, again, because of the emotional, as Jasmine said, the emotional content that he had for the home, he actually was telling us, he was giving away, and this is what I was going to say, Jasmine, he was giving away information to the buyers that he really shouldn't have been giving away. Or he was broadcasting, some of his insecurities, and that really turned the sellers off. They're very nice people. I mean, just the nicest people as they could be, but they unsold their house, and that's the way I wanted to say it.
I remember that too, and that is a great point. And that kind of goes along the lines of disclosure. He doesn't know what he should and should not say. Excellent. Okay, so we're talking about becoming friends, being allies with the for sale by owners. In order to do that, we want to be intentional about asking questions so we give them the floor and allow them a platform to speak. So I want for you guys, one person read the question, and I want you guys to just kind of think through what the response would potentially be from that for sale by owner. And let's go through this exercise together. So the first question, Jean, if you can read that first question for us, this is the way we want to introduce our conversation with these for sale by owners. And the purpose of this is because we want to disarm them. We want to become friends and allies with them. So opposed to us going through the process and saying, hey, you can't sell your home by yourself. You're going to end up listing with me. We're going to go in, befriend them, and ask them questions so that they become more, more friendly, if you will. They become more familiar with you. You gain their trust through this process. So let's go ahead and start with these questions.
Okay. The first one says, how long have you been attempting to sell your home on your own? Understanding the duration of their FSBO journey can provide insights into their experience and the challenges they may have encountered.
Absolutely. Somebody read that second question. What methods have you used to market your property? So we want to inquire about the marketing strategies that they've employed, such as online listings, signage, social media, and open houses. Whoever wants to go next, unmute yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to read on down this list so we can
How many
continue
showings
forward.
or property visits have you had? Knowing the level of interest and activity around the property can help gauge market demand and buyer engagement.
That's a big deal. All of these are very big deals, because if we know that that property, they've had it on the market for 3 months and they've only had 2 showings, now that's a very big talking point for us, right? And as we read through these questions for you guys as agents, I want for you to think of what your response would be or what your position is as an agent so that you can offer them a value resource in that particular instance, okay? Next question.
Have you received any offers on your home? As if they have received any offers, their nature, examples, price, terms, and whether any negotiations have taken place.
Excellent. The fifth question. And this kind of goes along the lines of what Mr. Porter was saying and what Gina was saying as well. What feedback have you received from potential buyers or agents? Inquire about the feedback that they receive regarding the property's price, condition, and any other factors that may impact the buyer's interest. So let's go ahead and dissect these a little bit more. Why is it important for us to know how long they've been attempting to sell their property? I want you guys to think about these questions and talk to me from the perspective of a real estate professional. Why do you need to know this, and how can you position yourself to be a resource for them or a solution to their problem? If I'm a seller and you ask me, how long have I been attempting to sell my home? And I say, well, I've had it on the market for 3 months. Somebody take yourself off of mute and talk to me from a real estate professional's perspective. How can you help me?
So I'm thinking of 2 ways that I could probably share with them. Well, one way gives me insight to them, and then something that I perhaps could share with them. So if you say that it's been on the market for 3 months, probably by this time the seller is getting a little bit discouraged because they haven't been able to, accomplish what it is that they set out to do. And so maybe they're more inclined to talk to you and maybe find out, get information. At the beginning, they already know that they can do this without you. But now they may be 3 months in to the point where, okay, well, maybe I do need some help. And so maybe I'm willing to speak with me, or maybe they're willing to speak with me. And then also, as far as maybe sharing with them, then I guess maybe that would open up additional questions as far as, what have their marketing strategies been, how many showings have they had, or how many people have actually seen the house, and if they've received any offers. And then that opens the door for you to be able to, because I think it would come, and what their pricing is. Okay, so then you can speak to them about, if perhaps their pricing they have been overpriced. And then if the great part about that, if it has been overpriced and it's a for sale by owner, then it probably hasn't been in the MLS, which is great, because then you can like list it as a brand new listing, and it doesn't have to show that, it was on the market for 3 months before you put it on the market. So then you're able to list it, at a reasonable price that will draw more potential buyers. You can start new with the marketing and all of that stuff. I think so. You basically could, start it over as like a brand new listing.
Excellent. Great job there. Okay, the next question, let's dissect that. What methods have you used to market your property? How would you speak to that as a real estate professional? If they say, okay, well, I've marketed my home on forsalebyowner.com, or just take any of the platforms on Zillow.com. How do you speak to that as a real estate professional? What resource can you provide to them? How do you help them to kind of grow beyond where they are? You want to be thinking about your value proposition and what you know that you can do that they're not able to, so that you know how to approach this conversation.
Ms. Porter, hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
I would think that one of the things that you want to let people know is based on what they're doing and what they're not doing as to why their house may not have sold, by showing them properties that came maybe on the market around the same time that theirs did, that has sold, and what was the difference. And a lot of times I think the difference is things such as the staging of the home, or did you do an open house, or how much access do people have to be able to come in and show your home. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a process and a method to the madness, so to speak, as to how to put your home or situate your home in the best possible light. And so I think that people need to know, especially for sale by owners, they need to know that it's not just, hey, I put it on social media and I gave people some pictures and, and call it a day. Because the pictures that you have, how much access people have to the property, the open houses, all of those things, I think play a large part, almost as much as how you've priced the house. I always go back to, the first thing you told me was it's not the market, it's not the market, it's the marketing. And I think a lot of people don't really know how to do that, and they think that they do, and I think that's the biggest mistake.
Excellent. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to add to that? All right, next question.
I'm thinking, oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, I was thinking also on the safety level, because you can put something on Craigslist, you can put something on YouTube, Facebook, you can do a lot of different things. You don't know who's coming to your house and what their intentions are. In most cases,
say that again.
And is represented by an agent. In most cases, you have more, you should feel more like it could be a safe transaction altogether. They're not coming in to see what you have and come and get you later. So I think that's a huge risk to market yourself, on things like that. I think it's a great opportunity for other people doing other things. But when it comes to your home, that's a little different.
Gina, I'm so glad that you shared that, because that's one of the biggest things that I'm waiting to hear somebody say. So in addition to all the other selling points that we have that are very important, we want to be able to point out to the seller some of those things that may be oversights or pitfalls. Just like Gina's saying, you leave yourself wide open, right? Most people don't want people who don't know them to know where they live and have access to their home and be able to come and walk around and look in and under and all kinds of stuff like that. And then you endeavor to do that without the safety of somebody at least being able to vet that person who's coming into your home. That is a gaping hole. It's a door wide open. And I truly believe that that is a very, it's an unfortunate oversight that some for sale by owners make. Because when we're working with a buyer, you oftentimes, you know that buyer's lender, you know that buyer's name, their address, you've seen their ID. Oftentimes the lender has their social security number, all their finances, you have their financial information, you know a lot about them because you're working with that buyer. So because there's that level of exposure, there's a lot less chance that that person is attempting to do something nefarious. But when you have people that can just walk down the street and see a yard sign and come knock on your door, you don't know them from Joe Blow. You don't know what their intentions, if they're calling cousin, whomever to come back and, look at some of the items that you may have. So that is a very big talking point that is not on the real estate side, but it is very much a pitfall that a lot of for sale by owners should really be considering. I'm glad you mentioned that, Gina. Thank you for that. All right, the third question, how many showings or property visits have you had? How do we speak to that as a real estate professional? So if the seller tells you, they give you a number, how do you speak to that? And I believe that Anitha already touched on it somewhat. So if anybody has anything that they'd like to add that hasn't already been said, by all means do so. All right, then let's go to the next. Have you received any offers on your home?
So for that one, so I'll say as far as the, excuse me, for the how many showings have you had? Also too, we can let them know, that because we have the ability, we are able to market their home to such a wide variety or a wide range of qualified buyers, then you're going to, every visitor that comes into your home that is going to be represented by an agent who is going to be qualified to purchase your home. So they're going there with the intentions, that's their intentions. They're hoping that your home is going to be the home that they're going to love and they're going to submit an offer for. And then what was the next one? How many offers have you received? And then that's still the same. Every potential buyer that comes into your home is coming. They're not, with the intentions of writing an offer on your home.
Absolutely. Excellent. I'm so glad you pulled out those talking points. All right, so next, question number 6. Someone take that one. Have you conducted any pre-listing inspections or appraisals? Determine whether the seller has taken any steps to assess the property's condition or value before listing it as a for sale by owner. Why is that a consideration? How do you speak to that as an agent?
So I don't want to be the only one. But so as far as, especially, on the appraisal side, so just like you had mentioned before, or Mr. Porter mentioned before, the pitfall that a for sale by owner also falls into is they are married to the home. They have intimate ties with the home. And so they see and recognize the value of the home as being something other than what the market would dictate. And so if that for sale by owner especially probably needs to have a pre-listing inspection and appraisal to help them to realize, what the house value really is, or what are some of maybe the concerns that a buyer would have with the condition of the home.
Great. Question number 7, what challenges or obstacles have you encountered during the selling process? By understanding the difficulties that they faced, you can gain insight into the potential issues or concerns that may arise during your negotiations. So somebody speak to question number 7. What challenges or obstacles have you encountered during the selling process? And this is one of those things that it's kind of a giveaway because you know, as a listing agent, some challenges and obstacles that you faced on the listing side with your clients. You know, so from everything from negotiations to requests for repairs to anything that you can imagine. So just speak to this piece for us. How do we provide a resource to a seller in this particular regard, no matter what the challenge is?
Well, I'm gonna say this only because I ran into this too. Especially when it came to the home inspection. A lot of times they don't realize they can say, okay, well, I'm not gonna repair, but I'm gonna leave XYZ dollars so that they can get somebody to do it. Or someone maybe come in and say, well, I'm interested in your house, but I need 3% towards closing, you know, or whatever. Or maybe they'll give them a dollar figure. I don't know. And that homeowner may say, I'm not giving them enough because they're looking at money out of their pocket, not realizing they can, the offer can go a little more than what the asking price is. I mean, again, it kind of to me looks at some of the legalities and just information that they are not aware of because they're not a licensed professional realtor.
Absolutely. So all of us can speak to challenges with selling a listing, right? But let's think beyond the real estate scope when we think about this as well, because they are not real estate professionals. And oftentimes these are people with lives, with jobs, with families, and all of these things. And when you have a job, whether you're working 9 to 5, 10 to 6, 10 to 10, or whatever that looks like, and you have someone that wants to come and tour your property, you don't have an agent that's going to be able to show the property to, you know, whatever that looks like. Oftentimes these sellers have to leave work or schedule around their work schedule, or, you know, there's so many considerations that come into play when they start selling their home on their own. So they literally take on a whole nother full-time job just trying to get their home sold. So think about it from that aspect as well. If you were in your house and you were trying to sell it, all the considerations you would have to make. You know that because of COVID, so many people are working remotely, you know what I mean? So very many times you have people who work from a home office and now they have to run out and there's so many things they have to do to make that home accessible. So there are things that we're able to assist them with on the real estate side, but let's go even a little bit more deeply with this question and just develop an ear to hear all of the potential challenges that they may be facing. Because at the end of the day, your goal is going to be to take all of that off of their hands, to handle that process for them, to sell the property for the most money with the least amount of stress in the least time possible for them. And that's going to be a very big part of your value proposition. So think about it from that perspective. All right. And question number 8 is obvious. Have you considered working with a real estate agent? Ask if they've explored the option of engaging a real estate agent and their reason for choosing to sell it on their own. So that's a very that's a self-explanatory one. And we've identified the top 2 reasons that for sale by owners go at it on their own. We already know what they are. Number 1, they think it's easy and anybody can do it. They don't need an agent, right? And then number 2, they want to save money. So number 9, are you open to working with buyer's agents? And sometimes sellers are not even willing to pay a buyer's agent, but the vast majority of them are willing to pay a buyer's agent. Okay. So you want to determine whether the seller is willing to cooperate with the buyer's agent and pay a commission, or if they prefer to handle the transaction directly. So you want to know that because, again, well, let me ask you guys that question. And if it seems like it's a giveaway, it is. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. If they are willing to pay a buyer agent's commission, then how do you position yourself as an agent to be able to come in and show value for that seller hiring you to list their home? I'm going to ask that question to you guys. If you already know that they're willing to pay a buyer's agent, say by chance, I'm willing to pay a buyer's agent 3% as a finder's fee. How can you come in and position yourself to be a resource and sell their home?
Platform that offers that at a finder's fee of 3.5%. And I could do that for you. I think that's how you say it, Jazz.
Say it one more time, Darlene.
I have noise in the background. That's why I'm muted. You hear it?
I don't hear the noise. I just hear you. You're good.
Okay. So I would come in with the platform that we have at where there's a finder's fee of 3.5%. And you get the same advantages and the same services, you know, from perhaps, you know, of working with a real estate agent through My House Porter.
And Darlene, you just took us home, because that is the purpose of everything that we're doing. So if we know all of the obstacles that they're going to have to encounter to sell that property on their own, and we know that they're willing to pay 3% to a buyer's agent, myhouseporter.com is only 3.5%. So you mean to tell me for 0.5%, you know, it is very possible. So let me just be straightforward with it. It is a value add to them to have your professional assistants to take on all of this for them, to sell their property for the most money possible, the least amount of time with the least headache, for you to be their representative, at them the fiduciary, you give them agency, of course, cold AC, you to take on all of the legality, you to take on everything and guide them through that process. And literally they're only paying 0.5% more than what they would have. And them paying 3% to a buyer's agent, they have no representation. They have no protection. They don't have any of those things for themselves. So it's almost as if you would want to preface the question to say, well, you having all of this, isn't that worth your peace of mind? Isn't 0.5% worth your peace of mind? And knowing that you've gotten all the protections, you have somebody that is going to represent your interests. You have somebody that's going to make sure that all the disclosures and legal documents are done and that you are protected, and you don't have to worry about coming home to show the property. You don't have to worry about, you know, working with strangers that'll potentially come and knock on the door with nefarious intentions. There's so many ways that you can take that. But the bottom line is you want to get to the point where you can say, aren't you worth 0.5%? Isn't your safety, your peace of mind, your well-being, your, you know, your financial investment, right? Because they're selling this property. And of course, the goal is to net the most money possible for them. But there's so many things that they don't realize that if they miss, it could cost them a great deal. So isn't it worth it to you to have all of this taken care of for you for only 0.5% more than what you would have paid for somebody else's representation? And I'll do all of this for you so you can rest peacefully at night. What do you guys think about that? If you were a seller, how would that make you feel? Somebody take yourself off of mute. I want to hear you guys, because this is what you're going to have to do. You need to be able to have this conversation and show your value proposition.
Come right here, Dee. I apologize. Dee wants to share. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay,
can. Hello, Dee.
Hi. So I just walked into the office and my phone went dead. So I'm just saying that I would really be happy with that, knowing that all of the work that I have to do, because I am a realtor and I understand how much work has to be done. And as somebody who's working from home, having to prepare my house, having to make sure that the people who come in are people that I can trust, understanding that there's some insurance that goes along with having a real estate agent, knowing that there are people in the agent's network that can help me do everything right, knowing what and what not to disclose, understanding that you have to say certain things. All of that makes a big difference to me, knowing that I don't have to handle that myself. So I think once they understand everything that's involved, which you should be telling them about while you're sharing and being a friend, that they would actually really want to work with a realtor, because that would be a layer of protection for them that they would not otherwise have.
Outstanding, Dee. That was outstanding. Anybody else? While we wait to see if anybody else has any key takeaways or anything to add to the conversation at this point, let's really think from the perspective of that value proposition for the seller. Mr. or Mrs. Seller, you're willing to pay 2.5 to 3% for somebody else's representation. Aren't you worth, paying 0.5% more? Or even if it's 1% more, because if you have some sellers that say, well, I'm only willing to pay 2.5% to the buyer's agent. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you're willing to pay that for somebody else. They're getting all the legal representation. They're getting everything that they need, and you would be without it. Aren't you worth only 1% more? Your peace of mind, isn't it worth 0.5% more? So that's a perspective that once you've had a chance to establish a rapport, you understand what things matter to them, you understand where they are in the process, you want to get to a point where you can actually, you present that question to them so that now they're thinking about it, right? Then the next time they have somebody just knocking on the door that they don't know to come in and show their home, and maybe it's a single person, maybe they don't have somebody else there for protection. They're going to think about it. They're going to think, well, Dee, that real estate professional, Dee Richardson, she had a good point. Maybe I need to call those porterhouse people.
And
I hear that
also
someone
Ms.
unmuted
Porter,
themselves. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, so what you've done at this point, when you get there, once you've done at this point, you've shared with them the great value that you have, as well as the resources and the ability, because they didn't realize that this was available to them. And they didn't maybe even fully realize the risk that they were putting their self and their family in. And when they are able to get full service brokerage services, right, for less than full service prices, I don't think there are very few people who would not be willing to take advantage of that. And that doesn't even include the frustration of an uneducated person trying to do the job of, what we've been educated to do.
You guys are on point. You're on point. Full service brokerage. That is what they're getting. Because we all know they can go and pay, $500 and just have it thrown on a website. But then that still means everything else is in their court to do. They get full service brokerage, and they don't even have to pay 6% or 7%. They're only paying 3.5% for that. That is a big deal. Okay. So we've talked about all of this with regards to the for sale by owners, and we will continue this conversation because, again, that is the push. So now you'll say, okay, well, Jasmine, I'm glad you shared that information. This is definitely food for thought. We're going to give this more consideration and do it. So how do we reach these people? Where do we find them? Well, I'm glad you asked, because there are so many online resources now for sale by owners. You can literally go into any of these resources, and I will go through a few of them very quickly because we're at 1:35 and I do want to let us go ahead and go out maybe about 5 more minutes if you guys can stay. This FSBO, or forsalebyowner.com. This is from this morning. This morning, just looking at homes in Maryland, that's 181 homes right there. Just typing in forsalebyowner.com, literally FSBO.com. Okay. This next one is actually forsalebyowner.com. So one is the acronym, the other is the full words typed out. And in Maryland, homes across Maryland, for this particular one, you see 863 properties currently listed for salebyowner.com. This is right here in Maryland. Of course, you can do this for Virginia, Northern Virginia. You can do it for DC. Another one, this is buyowner.com. You go onto this one and it will show you all of the properties that are available within your vicinity as well, the state that you are licensed in. Now with Zillow, you got to see and make sure that they still have it. I'm going to go back to the ones that are directly from this morning. Some of them are from previous trainings, and I need to go and revet them to make sure that they're still in that same location. So for the sake of today, let's focus on the buyowner.com, forsalebyowner.com, and FSBO.com. Because these, you literally click the button where it says view detail, and there's going to be an option for you to contact the homeowner. This is what you should be doing. So on our Thursday evening lead locomotive, I want for all of us to carve out the time to go to these websites, and you need to start developing that conversation with the seller. Because the goal is you establish that initial connection with that seller. They will respond to you. They are going to respond, and most of them are going to respond promptly. Some of them will respond within about a day or so, but they are extremely responsive. Why? Because they want to sell their homes. So you initiate that conversation with them. Remember the questions that you're asking them. How's that process going? You want to end that conversation with an appointment for you to come by and tour the property. You need to take a look at it. Okay, so when we're talking about going and having this conversation with the for sale by owners, this is your segue into going and touring each and every last one of these so that you can position yourself as an ally to these sellers. Because when between 90 and 97% of them are going to list with an agent anyway, why not you? Darlene, I see you have your hand up.
So in me touring the home, and when you notify the seller, am I, asking, that I have a potential buyer and I'd like to preview your home as my segue to get the initial in-person contact?
So that's a great question. And that is an approach that you can take, because there are always buyers that are on the market, right? You guys have buyers now that you're working with, but you don't have to say, I have a buyer that may be, interested in your home per se. This is my local real estate market, and I'm responsible for knowing everything that comes on the market here. I need to be able to present this property, whether it's to other clients or whatever the case is. You want to make sure that that seller knows that you are serious about your market, because it came on the market within your market. And I'm saying that word market a lot on purpose. Know your market, command it, own it, so that they feel confident that when they do list with you, you're going to be on top of things, right? This came across my radar. I need to know what this home has to offer. You're having this conversation with them, okay? So Darlene, that was a great question. You don't have to say, I have a buyer for that home. You just need to know what's on the market, period, okay? And you do have buyers for any home that could come on the market. You need to know for yourself, you need to know for your colleagues, you need to know for buyers that are currently pre-approved, those in the future. So having a grasp on what is available puts you in a driver's seat as a real estate professional. So it's a benefit.
Better. I like that. I like that.
All right, great question. Anybody else? All right, so now it's your guys' turn. You have done such a great job already today. I want to hear some of your key takeaways. What do you think now that we've had a chance to dissect some of those questions that we need to ascertain from our for sale by owners? Now that we've talked a little bit about the psychology behind this for sale by owner and your value proposition, what you bring to the table and how you can position yourself to be a resource and kind of a saving grace to that for sale by owner who would otherwise be pulling their hair out. What do you think? What are your key takeaways? What is your perspective now versus before we began this conversation? Not all at the same time.
I know, huh? So for me, it just, for this particular group of sellers or potential clients, it gave me specific areas where I am the expert and I am able to serve and service them, provide a service for them, so that I can speak confidently to them. And I understand with these websites, your initial contact with them is going to be by way of an email or a text, which is fine. But I have now information to be able to, or I have context, to be able to provide to them that would pique their interest and have them to, respond back to me.
Excellent, Anita. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I will add for you guys, most of these sites are going to provide you with their telephone number also. So the buttons that say click here to contact owner, those are the ones that are going to be either an email or a text, but you are not limited to that. So you can pick up the phone and have that conversation, and I do encourage it. That's why I want for you guys to be confident with the information that we're sharing, confident in who you are, what you bring to the table, your value proposition, and understanding that they think that it's easy, they think that they can do it, and knowing how to position yourself as an ally so that when they are ready to list, it's you that they'll list with. Excellent, Anita. Thank you for sharing. Key takeaway. Who's next?
So this is Dee.
Hello, Dee.
Hi. One of the first, at the beginning, when you first started talking about this, the first thing that came into my head was the Porterhouse platform that we have, the 3.5 platform. As we're leaving, one of the key takeaways for me is it's your market. It's your market. So you're calling people about the fact that you're an expert in this area and that you can help them, but you need to befriend them or be a resource for them so that you can move forward with the transaction at some point. So those are my two.
Very thoughtful takeaways. Thank you, Dee. Excellent.
So Jasmine,
Anybody
this is
else?
Gina.
Hello,
I was
Gina.
gonna say, for me, I'm gonna say ditto to all of what they said, but in addition to, it makes me more aware or sensitized to the mindset of the person selling their home, so that I can prepare myself for the objections that they may have, in addition, going more prepared with something to show to gain their trust. Because I can say, I'm the expert here, I'm this, that, and other. But unfortunately, in the natural side of things, seeing is believing. So earning that trust, having some solid information, or I say sustenance, that they can kind of look at, hold, see, and understand, could help them readjust their thinking on some things and get a sense of reality of what's involved with this thing, and then gain some trust in me to list their home or bring them a buyer, or both.
Excellent, Gina. I want to point out something that you said there, and great job. I'm sure that all of us have heard the saying, no does not mean never. Oftentimes it means not now. Because when NAR shows us that between 90 and 97% of them end up listing with an agent, if they tell you no the first time, the second time, the third time, guess what? 90% of the time, they're going to say yes at some point. Okay? So you be diligent, you be persistent, you know the value that you carry, and you understand that while it is possible for them to sell it by themselves, chances are they will need your help at some point. So remain friendly, remain an ally, develop that relationship, show yourself to be diligent, right? This, like we said, and Dee's key takeaway, this is your market. So you command your market, and you need to be able to go. And when you go there, you should have already done, you know, maybe a comparative market analysis. You still have HomeSnap. You can do it in less than 3 minutes on HomeSnap. 1, 2, 3, you got your market analysis. So you know a little bit about the property before you even get there. Okay, command your market, own it. Go have those conversations, be diligent, because these are your listings. Every person on this line, every person who joins us in Realty Talks or Lead Locomotive on Thursday evenings, you guys have been charged with getting listings from for sale by owners, and it is more than possible. It is at your fingertips. So this is something that you can do. So go be diligent. All right, guys. We are going to end the recording there. Anita, if you
Also,
will end the
Jasmine,
recording
just
for us.
so that, also, so this is really a great opportunity for us, because these sites that Ms. Porter shared with us, you don't have to pay to use the sites. So,
All
you know,
free.
we all can do this. Yeah.
Excellent.